One thing that I kind of noticed from these amazing stories was your ability to look on the bright side of any situation and just remain grateful, whether it was the weather in Buffalo and kind of seeing it for, it was cool that it was different and there was snow and this was something you weren't used to this opportunity in Singapore where you immediately think, oh, I'm not going to get anything after spending $1,500, but hey, I made it to Asia. Is
Yeah,
this something that you kind of continue to bring into your life? And how important do you think this is for players, coaches, people in our position just trying to make it in this life?
absolutely. Um, Again, I have a lot of friends and even family members that would always tell me like, why you never seem like you care? Why you never seem worried about things when things are like really bad? I grew up in a very humble household, right? And I came from a very humble background. I used to make my own cleats. I used to make my own shin guards. Of course, it wouldn't last very long. But I say all that to say that I always look for a way to get something done. I never think that, things are impossible. And that is because the way I was brought up, the coaches that I had, and I keep saying old school guys, but these are the guys that really made you realize there's more to life than the way you look at it. So when I started to play and even going to college and playing overseas, and even now, like, the first thing I'm always grateful for is the opportunity. And without life, you would have the opportunity. I lost my best friend last year. He was a national team coach and had plans to bring me in to be his assistant coach. And I saw him in December, November, and December again December. And then February, I got a phone call from his phone. And then one day after or 2 days after, I missed the call. 1 day after or 2 days after, passed away. Now that opened my eyes more. But prior to that, once you have a life, you can recover from anything. No matter how much money you lose, some people say, you can't get back time. That is true. But you have your life and you have experience that you can learn from. So life is more powerful than that. Always be grateful for the opportunities that you have, that life gave you, because with all those opportunities, you will not be able to live in a better way, to have a positive experience down the road. And that's something that I always took away. And I think here's where it started from, I believe. My upbringing with coaches was always like, don't worry. Like, you're always worrying, things will be okay. There'll be more opportunities. I remember I was 13 years old and I had just made the U15 national team pool. And back then, how they would scout for the national team pool, they had like what they call ODP over here. They had centers, right? And each center had about 30 players or 40 players in every age group. And you would train for like for an entire season, a couple of months, and then they would pick the top 15, and then the top 10, and then top 5. So the top 15 would go into the national center. There was 4 or 5 of them. So you will have a pool of over 50 players. Then it will cut it to 10 and to 5 from every district or states, whatever. We call it zones. And I made it to the last 5 for my zone to make the national team. And my father, they called my father and told him, back then they had no emails, it's phone calls, word of mouth. So they told him, hey, just let Fabien, this is so-and-so, the manager, so-and-so, tell Fabien Lewis that he has to report to training at 8 a.m. in the Joe Center of Excellence. This is the final training session before the team leave for friendly games. They were preparing for a tournament. And my father forgot to tell me. So I went to practice with my club team. I went to practice with my club team. And the coach was like, what happened to you? Why didn't you go to practice? I said, what practice? He said, the final practice was on Saturday. Why didn't go? I said, I didn't know. He said, they call it that. So when I went home and I tell my dad, he said, oh yes, I forgot to tell you that and blah. He's busy working and trying to provide for the family and whatnot. And he forgot to tell me this. So I started to cry. I went downstairs. I am literally behind a washing machine. It's crying. So he's calling my name to do something upstairs and he didn't hear me. He walked downstairs and he see me behind, he walking around, and he saw me crying behind the washing machine. And of course, being a father, it's not no hug and, oh God, don't worry, everything. It's none of that. It's like, don't worry, man. Like, why you crying like that? Like, I really made that mistake. I'm sorry, but there'll be more opportunities. Trust me, there'll be more opportunities. Don't worry. It didn't sink in then, but it sank in a couple of days after. And I went on to make the under-17 team. I was in the national under-20 pool. I didn't make the final cut for that. I made the under-23 Olympic team. So, and now I remember he said, don't worry, there'll be more opportunities. And that's why I took that lesson from a soccer perspective, missing out on something that he forgot to tell me, and generalize it with everything. Everything. Like, I used to rent before I owned, and I was paying more renting than owning with my mortgage. And I remember me and a friend having a discussion, and he's like, man, that's so much you're paying, like all the money's going back into rent and blah, blah. I was like, yeah, don't worry. That won't last forever. And that's just how I guess was formed. I guess that was a turning point in my life. It's just who I am. I don't worry about a lot of things in my life. And when I mean I don't worry about it, doesn't mean I don't care. I do care. But when things don't go my way, I don't let it bother me to the point where it takes me down. I try to find a way to make it happen. And that's how I've always been. And that's how I am right now with everything that I do. I always try to find a pathway to navigate myself into a positive environment. So, yeah, that's something else I would advise young players. Like, don't, not because you see your friend got picked to be in the MLS draft means it's the end of the world for you. Don't worry, there's a place for you. You just have to go and look for it. But there's a place for you, I promise you. Once you are true to the game, you're loyal to the game. And when I mean loyal to the game and true to the game, I mean you're paying your dues, you're training every day, you're humble, you're hunting, you will find a place to play, without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's many, many leagues, many, many countries, many teams, but you have to be that type of personality that I'll eventually get it. I'm not giving up, I'll eventually get it.
Footwork is sponsored by ourselves, but also Kong Fitness and Merchant Designs, baby. Follow us on Instagram at Footwork_podcast, Twitter is at Footwork Podcast. YouTube and Facebook, just check out Footwork Podcast, search it. Email us if you need anything, any questions at footworkpodcast@gmail.com. And remember, plug, pass. Tell your parents, Amazon delivery guy, mailman, I don't know who, just tell them. Like, subscribe, review, all of it helps. Danke.